This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details.
Get ready, comedian Nate Bargatze is bringing 2 nights of laughs to the XL Energy Center. Don't miss out on the hilarity when he takes the stage Saturday, July 26th and Sunday, July 27th. That's this weekend. With the Big Dumb Eyes World Tour, limited tickets still available. Get all the details, KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
Hour of the Bumper to Bumper program from TCO Performance Center. Guardsy is back from Vegas. We will be here, obviously, till 6:30 tonight. It looks like we're in the final minutes of today's practice session. You recorded one J-Mac pick, correct?
Yes.
And it could have been a pick six. Maybe they just stopped the play.
Yeah.
Do you think that's intentional? Because then the Jackals can't say he threw a pick six?
Probably. Yeah, to not get the second part.
Do.
Right.
Yeah,
the interception is bad enough, but a pick six puts points on the board.
More importantly, what have we seen of your guy, Max Brosmer, who I've already declared will be the backup quarterback for the start of the season?
I told you, don't let him get on the field. Is he out there right now? No, that's not him right now. I think he's number 12. I've only watched him. I haven't seen him throw a pass. Now, last segment, I wasn't watching very closely.
It sounds like they're not even giving him a chance.
No reps? Well, I think they probably know.
Reps.
They probably know. So he's right now he's behind all those offensive linemen out there. But I'm sure he's going to look good. He's going to look accurate. He's my guy. He brought everybody. They were all throwing like JJ and Drake Lindsay and Max Brosmer and Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson. They were all throwing last week at some school around here. Tanner Morgan was part of it. It was set some stuff up. So they're all working together. Do
you know what Gessling reminded me of yesterday? He was on yesterday with PA. He'll be on with us, I think, on Friday. So this regime has not won a playoff game, correct?
Correct. They're 0-2.
We were favored in both games.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I had forgotten we were favored against the Rams. I guess it makes sense that we should be given the comparative records.
Yes.
But obviously we were favored at home against the Giants. So both games.
And the Giants one, I think, bothers me more.
It should.
Even though, as you mentioned, last year was such a debacle immediately.
Yes.
The home game against the Giants with Daniel Jones.
Oh, yeah. It's unforgivable.
Yeah.
So that it's not just losing. It's, that you've lost games that, it's fair to say, the experts thought, well, you're supposed to win each of those games, and they did not do that. And we're going to get into a little bit of that with the head coach, just the old issue of we know it burns these guys. I mean, because that's what they're in this for.
He's played the whole season to have it.
He's played, he's obviously won a bowl. I mean, he as an assistant coach. So, but it is an interesting wrinkle I had not really thought of in a while. I guess it was obvious with the Giants game, but I'd completely forgotten that we were favored against the Rams. And look, the Rams look good. If you remember, the Rams gave the Eagles all they could handle. I mean, they were basically 1 or 2 plays away from maybe extending that game.
They did.
Which was impressive in of itself. So, in any case, I'm sure there will be a little bit about the past, a lot about the present, and some about the future as well. We'll try to talk a little bit about the division. I mentioned yesterday, I hate when, and I don't know if he was forced into this or he volunteered it, Caleb Williams did the declaration about goals of 4,000 yards passing.
Oh, boy.
And 70% completion percentage. It's like, what are you doing? Why are you going down?
He wants to be delusional.
Maybe
he doesn't want to have the lid on his jar.
But delusional should just be, and it's cliched, it's a yawner. I'd much rather, he said, hey, man, I obviously have to be more accurate than I've been.
Yep.
But I'm not interested in playing that game. I want to win games, man. I want to win games.
Yeah.
And so in a given game, if that means handing the ball off 52 times, I'm going to do it. I'm much more interested in that than setting these benchmarks that have to do with individual numbers. I just think it's a dangerous way to look at it. So that's another question for KOC. I'm going to say, what are the benchmarks for J-Mac this year? Is it 4,000 yards passing and 70%? completion percentage.
I look forward to that answer.
Yeah, see what he says. See how he goes with it. Because maybe he heard it, and he can, although he's probably not going to rip the Bears realistically.
No.
I wouldn't think. And I haven't heard, allegedly, Ben Johnson is like, he's doing the old, we're stripping this guy down. They're like redoing all of his the QB, his footwork. He probably needed a lot of that. I think you almost have to. They do interest me, not because I grew up rooting for them, but because it's such an interesting question. We're back to how much of a difference can a completely different head coach,
for sure,
that voice be, especially if he's considered a quarterback whisperer as well, right?
Yeah.
It's like how much and how quickly can that happen? Although you can make the argument that, in fact, somebody had can't remember what national jackal had both. They were ranking offensive lines, and they had both the Vikings and Bears top 10.
I think that's
Bears
fair.
were in the 20s last year.
Yeah.
And they did make some changes. The Vikings, we know, have spent a lot of money trying to redo the interior part of their offensive line as well. But I just think, I do think it sounds like, kind of parochial. But I think this is there's every reason to believe this is going to be the most interesting division in the league. I really think, because can the Bears really make a jump?
Yep.
Ever? Are the Lions they've been for real for 2 years?
Can they back
sustain?
it up? Yep. Losing both coordinators.
Exactly. Can J-Mac be a guy right from the beginning? And the Packers, it's obviously can Jordan Love be a little bit more consistent, take the next step? These are all teams that I think are legit potentially in one form or another. I think the Bears still have the most to prove, obviously.
Yep.
But I think this is going to be the most interesting division in football this year. I really do.
You're probably right. Just
top to bottom.
It was a super intriguing one a year ago with how good Detroit was. Obviously, Minnesota was right there with them pretty much every step of the way until they weren't, week 17. And the Packers also, playoffs, right there in the mix. And there's no reason with anything they did in the offseason that it would be any different there, except things just kind of change year to year in the NFL. Those three all think of themselves as contenders for sure, right? And then the Bears are just trying to get back on the map, but they hired a coach that everybody has wanted the last few years that didn't leave multiple times, right? Ben Johnson, it wasn't the first time people thought Ben Johnson was going to be ready for a head coaching job the last few years, right? He turned a couple down, I think, at least interviewing, a few years ago. And so he handpicked his situation, too. There has to be good reason for that.
You don't say no to Kevin Warren.
Is that what it is?
No, you don't say no to him, even though they still don't have a stadium deal done in Chicago. That's an ongoing saga. And that's partly what he was brought in for.
Yeah, but how long has he been there? 2 years now?
Long enough. Needs to be done.
Yeah.
Where it's going to be.
How long did ours take, though? Ours took forever.
Decades.
And you got to settle in on, are you going to be downtown or are you going to the suburbs? Are they back in the suburbs now?
It's possible. Yeah, they still are. And it's the old, it's Chicago, man. He's got to learn to grease more palms.
Yeah.
I mean, it's undeniable.
He's too ethical.
At this late date. That's the problem.
Yeah.
All right, let's stay on schedule. We'll pause here. We expect to visit pretty shortly once we return with the head coach, Kevin Seifert, later this hour as well.
Should we do McCarthy's last play right here?
You want to call it?
Well, McCarthy's, it looks like he's shotguns, 4 wideouts. He's looking to the right. Oh, he just dumps it off. It's caught.
Check down Charlie.
A little bit of a screen pass.
Yeah.
That's like a run play, Dan.
That's okay.
Yeah, looked like they had a nice gain.
That's a pass that Sam Darnold in the playoff game against the Rams could not complete. That simple swing pass was beyond him. That's how flustered he got in that game.
And KOC's seen enough. The horn is blown. Practice is done.
Quick break. Back with more from TCO Performance Center. Stay tuned.
Before we go, the fan and BigDeck.com, I'm going to give you a shot to win bonus bucks for the National Cash Contest. Head to KFAN.com. The keyword is Bills for this hour. Keyword Bills. KFAN.com. Keyword.
Because Vikings practice afternoon session, day 2, is in the books. We expect shortly KOC will be heading over here. Does he walk or does he do the golf cart? I think if you're a head coach, you have to do the cart, don't you?
It's kind of cliche, but I think he usually
he's
walks.
awfully physically fit, so he doesn't need the cart. There's some coaches historically who needed the cart.
I think what happens...
I don't think he needs it.
I think he walks over here, but then I think the cart is waiting for him when he's done.
I see.
I think he gets carted off the field when he's done with you, but I think he actually walks over here.
Okay.
We'll see.
Fair enough.
We were just moments away from watching that entire exchange, so we'll see.
Figured out before this show that day 2 of the Great Minnesota Get-Together, Bumper to Bumper will be largely preempted by Vikings preseason football, correct?
Yes.
Which has you scurrying.
Yeah, I was so proud.
Because you had some people in place for day 2 on that Friday.
Andrew Zimmern was coming by right at 5:30.
That's unfortunate.
It was going to be great. Spend the last hour of the show, and now that's gone.
That's gone.
Hopefully he can do like 4
is
or
that
4:30.
Is that his only day out there?
It's one of the only days.
One of the only days.
Yes, and that time it looked great. But that's my job. I've got to go next play and figure it out.
That's our last preseason game, I think, isn't it?
I think it is. Yeah, I did look at the
That's the game
schedule.
where we don't think anybody will play. It will be interesting to discover. We talked about this with Peter Bursic yesterday. Well, actually, PA talked about this a lot too. It's like, okay, ordinarily number 1 quarterback, you're not going to play him much preseason. Does that change when he's a new kid, right?
Right.
How much? Because Bursic said, "Look, I used to play. I used to be an assistant coach." And there's still, even though it's preseason football, there's still a difference in how you evaluate, and that's a step up in a way that he thinks you got to get him on the field some. So the obvious decision, in a way, you would think might be the first one. That's at home, and maybe that's the one where you play him a decent amount. I don't know. Maybe he'll spill the beans on that with us. I'm not sure if he's talked about that with the Jackals more generally, what they're. Because all this has been mapped out.
Of course.
Years ago. Yeah. Right? Before they drafted him.
They knew.
They figured they knew exactly what they were going to do. So,
yes.
Then on the other hand, you got a little bit of that injury paranoia.
Totally.
With him.
Yep.
Because of what took place a year ago, correct?
Yes.
But it's football. There's only so much you can do.
Right. Well, I remember being and I'm not comparing J.J. McCarthy to Christian Ponder. I'm not. Okay, I just want that out there. I'm not.
I hope not.
But
for your sake.
I remember being very annoyed that Ponder didn't play more in the preseason.
Yeah.
Just because it felt like they were just treating him like
he's already a fixture.
We already know what he can do.
Yeah.
Well, and again, not that it was going to change. Right, but not that it was going to change anything, by playing an extra series or two, but I just didn't like how that felt.
No.
That Ponder's going to play, a series, and if he hands it off to Adrian Peterson 3 times, so be it. It was like, well, like you just said, Bursa said, there is some value to at least getting out there and trying. Now, with him, it wasn't going to matter, but I'm just talking about how I remember feeling that at the time, like, this doesn't feel right, how they're handling the situation.
Because a lot of these were not easily correctable, even though that's what Ponder said. Brett Blakemore, can you hit the breaking news sounder? I forgot to get to this earlier, but I'll still pretend it's breaking. Apparently, first practice, first opportunity to throw a meaningful practice pass, A-Rod was intercepted.
No.
First one.
That's
Aaron
great.
Rodgers.
Wow.
First one. Now, I don't know if it was a pick. To be more dramatic, it was a pick 6, but apparently it was in the very first drill, interception. Which, you know what that means? Vindication for KFC turning his back on the A-Rod's dream.
The experiment?
Yeah.
God, that is funny.
That is pretty funny.
There are some things where you just wonder, someone's looking out for all of us.
Well, that is going to be another great storyline because people want to project that there's still something left in him. I projected it, but he's still got to do it, right? He's still got to, get the thing done.
So KOC's like triple fisting something.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Oh, look at this. Yeah. He's got some good stuff going. And, by the way, he's not.
He's walking.
He's not.
He's walking. He's handling the incline very well to get up here to the perch.
That's true. And he brought something exotic, it looks like.
This looks like new stuff.
Is this? I hope these aren't alcoholic beverages.
Yeah.
Because I don't even think
I hope they're street legal. Yeah, I hope they're street legal in Minnesota. They're the international team now.
Look at the variety.
What a lot of options.
What did you bring this year?
Well, we had to work through some things with the glass bottled, straight out of the straight out of the Alps water there. So
Straight out of the Alps.
I figured. I know you've been a world traveler already, haven't you?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I figured a couple flavors of San Pellegrino.
Oh, nice.
Would go a long way, and
thank you
so
so
I'm gonna
much.
give you both those. Let
Look
you
at
choose.
that.
Maybe you want to share. I don't know.
Aranciata orange,
Doubtful.
and the Pellegrino looks like just about the sparkling natural mineral water.
And I'm just going to
You're
have
just
a
going to
blue
go the
collar.
old-fashioned
Yeah.
Gatorade?
Yes.
It's the old reliable.
Yep. That's it.
You know,
That's it.
there's a lot of important stuff to talk about, but let's get to silly stuff first because I was just talking about the fact that there was a time in professional football when coaches tended, not all of them, but many of them, needed the cart. They needed to be taken from one place to another. The trend seems to be ridiculous BMIs now amongst all of you. Is it like, do you have an internal competition in that regard? Because once upon a time, there were fat coaches. And I mean no offense by that. They were just bigger, right? There's not very many of you left. So what's that all about? Is that a plan?
It is not a plan, and I can tell you that I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing that I have not worked out since camp started. And I think I'm down 5-6 pounds.
Oh, really?
Stress,
Right.
stress of running a training camp, and I'll tell you, you know what? It's not anything that I want to compete for because my body will not hold up between my back and standing around all day.
Right.
Trust me, I feel it. But luckily, we got you set up here in a good spot.
It's a great spot.
I like the fact
this is
that
an
we got
outstanding
you right
spot.
here.
Yeah, it's a very good spot. It's not always the easiest to figure out like what's happening out there because sometimes we can see the plays, sometimes we can't. And there is I think you know this from a media standpoint, especially the people who have to cover this team daily.
Yep.
I kind of feel for them because they get accused of making too much out of a given play. But in their defense, they got to fill the pages, right?
Yeah.
They got to fill the tweets. And so I think all of us, even those especially, like I said, who cover every day, that's the challenge, is trying to figure out what to process, what matters, and what doesn't. You're the coach, so you're in a very different position. So the assumption is you're watching stuff that's very different than what the obvious stuff might be.
Yeah, I think it's a valid point. I think the deal should be as long as we hold off on some of the stat counting in the spring.
Yes.
Good. I understand that, folks. Look, people have the alternative would be nobody cares about what's going on out here, and we certainly don't want that. I like the fact that I think our media do a really good job of understanding, telling the stories of the players, but also the journeys that they're on, where they're at in their NFL careers.
Absolutely.
We've got the full gamut from a Harrison Smith all the way to some of our rookies, or J.J. McCarthy in his second year, going through it. So I want the stories to get told. We got nothing to hide here. We're really proud of what we've built, Dan. But at the same time, it is the second day. We're not even in pads yet.
Sure.
There's a lot of things as a football team that I'm challenging these guys on a daily basis that, I told them just now after practice, believe it or not, 18 practices left until we cut down this roster. So if we think we can come out here one day and it's kind of hot. Yesterday we were in the indoor because of the lightning and it was a little muggy in there, so maybe we're in our feelings a little bit today. Well, guess what? 18 of these left until you make your mark, and we have to decide, which is going to be a tough decision. We have to decide the 53 guys we're going to put on this football team.
I don't want to get too deep in the weeds on this, but I'm actually interested as a person who's been to many training camps over the decades, how decisions are made. Like, my understanding early at least is the Bears' approach has been, we go early. We kind of beat the weather that way. We get in, we get out. And I'm assuming they may mix it up and there's other things they do over the course of the day. Seems like you guys like going late. So is there a method to that? Is there a thinking to that? As opposed to saying, all right, we don't have to deal with the heat at its worst if we get out here early. What's your thinking on that?
No, I think we've practice starts at 2:30, which it's designed to hopefully be the hottest points in the day. And I think, there's going to be some extreme to that throughout camp. Yeah. I don't know if you were here a couple years ago when we had Joints versus the Cardinals. I think it got up to 97, and it was humid, and that was a day where, maybe we cut back the work a little bit, and that was a team coming from Arizona that agreed to cut back because of the heat.
Right.
But for the most part, we've got to use those days, and it's good for the guys to get out here and feel that a little bit. Get in the mode of, you better do your work ahead of time, pre-practice. You better be hydrated, because as this thing gets going, with the sports performance, sports science world, if we're going to adhere to that, we've got to find our moments and our times where we can push to try to put some armor on these guys to handle 17 plus. Because yes, training camp used to be different back in the day,
sure,
but they were playing 12 or 16.
Yeah,
I mean,
true.
we're going to continue to play more and more games, yet talk more and more about doing less to prepare the guys. And I have to find a way. I owe it to these players and the coaches to put together a training camp where, when it's all said and done, we feel like we worked, we feel like we came together, we feel like schematically we're to the level to compete with some of these teams we're going to have to compete with. And then, oh, by the way, it's, getting some new players in every year. The way the NFL works, about pretty close to half our 90-man roster was not here last year. So it constantly becomes something I think about. How do we build the time in there, but then also challenge the guys to make use of this time to come together?
I'm not here to bring up painful memories, I promise. But whether it was coincidence or not, I'm flipping around, as I tend to do at night, and I hit the NFL Network.
Yep.
And the game they're replaying a bunch of games from the playoffs last year was the Rams game.
Yep.
Was your game against the Rams. And I did think of you because I was reminded of some things I almost forgot during that game. My guess is you never forget stuff when you're the head coach and you're embedded and you're invested. But where are you? I mean, how long does it take you, or did it take you, to get over, I know, a very disappointing game where you had very high aspirations for this team? Or is it always with you? Is that the nature of this business where it is still burning in you as you look back?
Yeah, I can. We've had 2 opportunities in 3 years in the playoffs, and I can vividly remember feelings pre, post, during some play calls, some plays that had a wild impact on maybe just the momentum of the football game, or in certain cases, ultimately the final outcome of that game, and you remember it. I mean, you can't challenge people to look inward, and I know people, I think in this day and age, so much of what we do is broadcasted, right? Every time we win, everything I tell my team is broadcasted, and that's okay, because like I said, I want our players and our fans to be a part of something that we're building here, that we want it to be special all the way to hopefully realizing that goal of winning a world championship. But it can dangerously walk that line sometimes of, it's another cliche, it's another talking point for some folks to poke fun at. But, believe it or not, I believe everything I say. I care about these guys tremendously. And when you're going to tell people, look inward and let's find a way to really understand where we're trying to go as a football team, it better start with me. Because the type of relationships I have with these players and coaches will be wildly diminished if I'm not authentic and truly meaning what I say. And I think in regards to that game, because, believe it or not, I don't know if it was as recent as maybe you saw it, but they had it on at a different time in the off season, couldn't sleep, whatever it was. And, what followed it was the game when I was with the Rams, and we beat Tom Brady, comes back from, we thought we were going to be on the next documentary, and then Matthew Stafford hits Cooper Kupp down the middle to kick the game-winning field goal. And it was a great example of, as I told our team, the 1,000 little things that go on in a football game that you need to be championship worthy at, regardless of whether you're prepared for that moment or not. You're going to find out. But then I watched this other game where so many little things had to happen for us just to win a divisional game. And then ultimately the same thing happened next week in the NFC Championship game, and the same thing happened in the Super Bowl. But all of those things can be considered out of your control, so you better focus on the things you can. But, long answer, I know. But that question I could spend all day talking to you about, because the wins, Dan, they feel like, 3 out of 10s for a head coach. The losses, especially those.
That's what everybody says.
They can creep towards the 10,000 out of 10 of the misery scale, because when you care about people and you're trying to do it a certain way, you live with all of it. And that's what makes this job the best job in the world, but it can be hard.
The impression that I think a lot of us got after that game, based on some things you said, and even on the way you guys conducted your offseason and the acquisitions, the players you added, was an acknowledgement of, as much as this game is evolving offensively, certainly, to becoming obviously more of a passing league, there are some immutable traits that you have to still have as a team at the line of scrimmage, and you're kind of kidding yourself if you do not address those particular issues. Because, again, most of the major moves you guys made were along the offensive and defensive lines. Is that a fair appraisal? Is that how, when you guys are looking in and you're reevaluating everything and saying, how do we get to that next place, Is that the message that you've conveyed by the moves you've made?
Yeah, and I would think about it like this. A lot of times we've, part of coaching and trying to schematically advance yourself through the season, through the ebbs and flows of some of the really good coaching you go against, is figuring out where you want to put the hard down, where you want the hard down to be. And for many of the circumstances we've been in and won some football games now, like we've found a way to win 13 and 14 in two separate seasons and should have won more in 2023, and a lot of that was my fault. And so when I look back on it, it's what's the next phase? It's figuring out a way for the line of scrimmage to be something that we can, against the upper tier of the NFL, we can find a way to own that a little bit more, working inside out. Now, we've got two really good tackles, and I don't want to take anything away from the guys that blood, sweat, and tears have poured it out there over the last 3 years in the interior, but we wanted to be real purposeful with what we tried to put together from a play style standpoint, body type, how that's going to work. And then on the defensive side, Flo has been, in a lot of ways we pride ourselves, and I don't want to speak for Flo, but what they do schematically some weeks amazes me, and what we've done in the past game and found ways to get a guy getting covered by 6 people open still, like that's all great, but sometimes football in its purest form, the longer you do it and the closer you get to maybe becoming what you want to be, you realize it can be a simple equation at that point. Can we get that yard when we need it? Can we stop somebody without having to send 6 or 7 forward defensively? Can we find a way to get those 3 or 4 or 5 yards and stack plays where maybe the job of the quarterback can be easier, the job of the world-class receiver can be easier because we're dictating in a different way than maybe we have at times over the first 3 years. But all of that's still in the garage. We just have to, become a little bit more complete with how we play football, in my opinion.
Does that mean calling plays differently with a slightly different philosophy?
I think it has to because, as any good play caller, you're constantly playing like the risk-reward proposition game in your head of percentages, right? Hey, what are they going to play based upon your study of that opponent, and what likelihood are you going to get exactly what you want to attack it, and then how much you're willing to risk you don't get what you want, or vice versa, what kind of negatives are you risking? So as a play caller in the run game, we've just got to be more efficient. How many more times in run or pass can we just be a little bit more efficient? And that might not be as exciting as a 15, 20-yard run. It might be 5 yards and being in a 2nd and 5 and having the whole playbook at our disposal. It might be understanding that, hey, we are going to be with these new rules, the kickoff rules, the starting position is going to start even further out, Dan. There could be more 4-down football across the whole league, and there's been a lot of it, even in these last 3, 4, 5 years. And not to be reckless, but we've got to build a defense on the other side that allows us to play that game too. So I feel very good about the roster we've put together. I can already see it kind of coming together from a standpoint of some really tough decisions, not only how we're going to build this thing personnel-wise, but who's going to make our football team. And then you got to build for depth as well, because as we know, that's been a huge discussion point internally here of how do we stay healthy at the critical spots that we need to.
Kevin O'Connell is kind enough to join us after practice today from the exclusive Fan Radio Network Perch. Let's get to J.J. McCarthy. Here's what I think is interesting from a fan perspective, even a media perspective. On the one hand, it appears that you guys have put together a roster that you believe has great possibility right now. Not 2 years down the road, but now. And yet you are also asking a second-year quarterback who obviously missed all the time that mattered last year to be the guy as well. So my question is, what kind of a curve is it fair to grade him on? Because I think that's the disconnect is, as much as people want to say, new quarterback, young, it's going to take some time, I'm not sure anybody wants to hear it because they go, well, no, the team itself, the way they put these players together, and as aggressive as you've been in the offseason, it feels like they want it right now. So does that mean, what kind of curve is it fair to grade J.J. McCarthy on, given that he seems to have a lot of really good infrastructure around him immediately?
Yeah, I as far as, we're gonna take a long look each and every week of how we best serve to the development process of what that curve looks like. I think it depends on what your understanding is of what you're actually seeing and what we're asking him to do, because I am wildly in favor of the quarterback development process involving more than just the quarterback. And I know it's been too much has probably been made of my opinions on these matters, but I will say that I believe you're supposed to put a really good football team around any quarterback that plays. When you have a younger player in this financial current NFL that we play in nowadays, you can do it a little bit more around that player with the young guy under contract for a certain amount of time before you inevitably have to start planning for what that will look like when he transitions to one of the more highly paid players on the team. What I would say is there's the football philosophy part of it. You heard me use that term hard down all the time. I think too many people in this league force the young quarterback to play the hard down. And it's hard enough as it is. There's no removing the difficulty of what playing the quarterback position is in the NFL. You can't hide from a 3rd and 7. You can't hide from a third and 8 at the 8. That's a quarterback down, right, wrong, or indifferent. I stand on the sidelines. JJ could have 4 defenders on him, out playing receiver. We could have an all-out play. That is a quarterback down. But what are we doing all the other times? What are we doing to put drives together, stack plays, marry the run and the pass, a whole lot of things that could sound cliche if we don't live it, breathe it, and do it for the player on a daily basis. And then remember, we drafted a player we hoped would hold himself to a standard that allows that arrow to stay pointed up regardless of result, especially early on, because we're trying to build a player here that can sustain for a long time in Minnesota.
You've talked about quarterback presence, and I don't know if you've already been around him enough to believe in it, but I'm as interested in you defining, as a guy who's about offense and about working with quarterbacks, how you define that term gets thrown around a lot. He's got presence. What does it mean to you? What is it you need to see to believe that quote-unquote presence exists?
Yeah, we gotta. There's the on-field component of it, handling moments. Handling. I know the term being at your best when your best is required. Well, you can artificially create that a little bit out here in some competitive periods, and give him certain information leading into the day that might not be ultra, comfortable. Heard it 1,000 times, but hey, can he remember those things and apply them in a critical moment that we can try to create? So there's one layer of it, and then there's the presence that I'd like to. I've been talking to our team about the invisible presence in our building of just substance. And as you know, there's some quarterbacks around the league, without naming any names, like the authenticity and the realness of it and the infectious part of it that you'll want to be around it is a fine line for some guys. And he has found the way, in my opinion, in a really authentic way to be himself, to his love of football to come out in a really positive way, and I've seen players that I've gotten to know pretty well over the last 3 years around here respond to it in a way that is also authentic and real. And then you just try to stack days and put them in situations to grow right before all of our very eyes. And there's going to be some ups, there's going to be some downs. I'd rather people continue to ask me the question about J.J. McCarthy and the ups and downs of it than ask him about it, because I want him focused on being about the right stuff, the process, and continuing to grow and learn and worry about the next down that he's got to go manage and play quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings.
Can you help us clear up one thing that that's still kind of gnaws at me, even though you could say it's now irrelevant? And this is your opportunity. Obviously, the media jackals are constantly evaluating you. They're questioning what you say, what you do. It's just part of the deal. This is your opportunity to question us a little bit. And it was a story that evolved over the offseason that indicated that you guys were kicking the tires on Aaron Rodgers. And there were a lot of people, a lot of fans who texted and said, I don't believe you guys. I think the media is blowing this up. It wasn't that big a deal. And yet there's a lot of reporters I trust who say they think there was real conversation about that, even though ultimately you guys decided to go another direction. So can you clear that up? Did we blow that story up and out of proportion? Or was it a fair off-season story that is part of how you got to where you are right now?
I totally understood that. I thought that's a good thing, I guess, that there was a lot of different directions I thought you could go with that to set the record straight. But you know what, there was I've said it on record, and it shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. I've known Aaron Rodgers for a long time, and it was a circumstance where there were some conversations personally between him and I, and the idea of him, possibly either wanting to or becoming a Minnesota Viking. We had, had a quarterback depart in free agency that won 14 games and a young player coming off of an injury. What would that look like? All those things. It was dialogue between, a player that I have the utmost amount of respect for, both for Aaron as a player and the relationship that I've built with him going back a long time, believe it or not, to even when I played this game very below average. But ultimately, I think, everything worked out the way it was supposed to. We always went into this offseason, even before it ever started, wondering how do we put the best possible team in place to ultimately uplift who's playing quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings. And when we selected J.J. McCarthy in the first round of the draft, the idea of what this team was going to look like was that path was set in motion. And now we just get to, live it on a daily basis and live the highs and the lows. And hopefully, we got a lot of confidence in how we handle the position around here and ultimately what that looks like with J.J., as our guy. I'm really excited to get to do it with him every day. He's having a blast doing it, Dan.
I think we saw. I think Justin Gard, my producer, did a play-by-play on his interception today. I don't know if there was more than one. That's always the question. Is that a teachable moment kind of INT?
You and I are in the booth right now.
Okay, well,
we're in the booth.
You're better at this than
watching
me.
it. We're watching it in real time. So we had Jordan Addison on a double move to the left, a core concept, a little bit of a double move.
Great, yeah.
He got rerouted, jammed at the line of scrimmage, just a little bit too long for my liking.
Okay.
And JJ, his utmost confidence in Jordan to maybe get up on that safety and launch the ball down the field. He hung with it. One hitch too many.
Okay.
Had, I believe, it was either Lucky Jackson or Speedy Naylor coming over the middle, pretty open on an in-cut. He took one hitch too many to the left side, kind of hanging with the, man, I want to impress Dan Barreiro with this double move touchdown.
Yeah.
He should have just, and he immediately, the best thing about JJ is he said, I should have got off of it much earlier, and then he came back a couple plays later, similar type of look, and made a great decision and threw a great ball right back there to Addison. So one of those things where you define learning, teachable moments in practice. Likely something I'll probably go over with JJ and maybe even in the team meeting later because there's some, Harrison Smith got his hands on a football for about the 450th time in his career.
Two last quick things. One, well, actually, I'll just finish with one here. For your off season, well, you know what, Peter Bursich had. I will say one other thing about your quarterback, and then we'll get to the last one.
Yep.
Yesterday, I said to him, Pete, how much do you want to see J.J. McCarthy run in this offense? And he said, none. He said, I want him to throw. I want him to use his legs simply to buy time to throw. To me, there's got to be a little bit of a middle ground there based on mobility and what that can do to maybe get a 4-yard play to the sidelines as opposed to 2nd and 16. But what is your own philosophy on what are your guiding principles with him in that regard?
Yeah, I think, he never had a documented 40 time or anything like that through the draft process, but he's a good athlete. And, he got hurt on a scramble type play where he was trying to make a move in the open field. And there could be layer upon layer of why that happened.
Right.
But what I would say is I think he's going to be able to use his legs naturally as the play gets exhausted. He's got some juice. He's got the quickness to avoid some of these, unbelievable athletes that are rushing the quarterback nowadays. And then I do believe, you can go back really almost anybody that, we've ever coached. There's been a situational feel to maybe activating the quarterback as a runner when it's to our advantage. I think there's always a layer of it. You can do it with some of the players that are playing the quarterback position in the league. You have an advantage showing up to the stadium with their athleticism. But then there's a schematic side. Are they really accounting for that player? Is it going to be a reaction late in the down for them to react to the quarterback maybe running? And then, they are protected by some rules that if they handle themselves properly and I guess maturely, you should say, when they get either near the sideline or the ability to slide and protect themselves, you can just get up and go get in the huddle. And, we have a phrase around here, can you steal me 1 or 2 first downs a game? And that's the critical side of it. Maybe what Pete was talking about of, maybe on some downs, because we get some pretty exotic man coverages to Justin. Hey, there's a guy pressing him, a safety over the top, and then they're worried about Addison, maybe a double there. Is TJ getting, but what they don't ever account for is the quarterback. So Vikings fans will see sometimes this year where he takes off and can get us a good chunk of yardage. Sam was able to do that,
Yes,
as we were able to kind of recognize it throughout the season and use his legs. And that's part of, I don't think you need to be a true runner at the position, but if you've got the ability to steal some yards and move the football, in a way where Coach O'Connell gave me almost said a bad word there. Coach O'Connell gave me a bad play, and I found a way to make a first down out of it. You'll see a big smile on my face.
The most relaxing moment of your off season?
Oh man, it definitely wasn't my son's little league. That's probably more stressful when he's on the bump than anything. Probably just we spent a couple weeks back in San Diego, and I got out fishing with my dad. Just me, him, and the boys a couple days, and it was relaxing because we didn't catch anything. But
but you can get away then and kind of escape all of it a little bit at least?
Yeah, it was, I had not been home, believe it or not, since that's where I received the phone call last year about Kyrie. So being back there and not receiving a phone call of any kind like that allowed me to relax. But, Dan, it's hard to explain, and I don't know if people will be able to rationalize this, but you really do feel like you've got 53, and in this case, this time of year, 91 kids, and I care about my coaching staff the same exact way, and everybody in this building. That's the way we're trying to do things around here, and so I don't relax a whole lot.
No,
but
I get that.
It's part of my personality to expect the best out of people.
Well, beyond that, and I'm sure you've been around here now long enough to me, it's the burden of the significance to people of this franchise.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no team in this town professionally that's on this level, on the Vikings level. It's just a fact. It's part of it's the nature of pro football being as popular, but part of it is the way it's ingrained. The Vikings have ingrained themselves into people's heads over the decades. You got to be feeling that.
My favorite. Favorite thing to do, and it's a lot sometimes, but when I get out and about and get to really engage with, on any given day at a Little League tournament, I might see, 50 or 60 fifth or sixth graders, but then I might see Grandpa who will tell me, where he was when the Vikings either lost this game or that game, and I'll normally immediately bring up Bud Grant and how much he meant to me, and they'll have a great Bud story, and it's one of the best parts of this job is engaging with our fan base. I think we got the best fans in the NFL, and I know a lot of coaches say that, but until you've experienced other places and then come here, you can really start to feel it.
I appreciate it. Always a pleasure. Best of luck this season, and hopefully we'll catch up somewhere down the road.
Enjoy your Pellegrinos.
I will do that for sure.
They're
Thanks,
getting
man.
warm right now.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. KOC, Kevin O'Connell, the head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, giving us plenty of time today. We'll come back, get back on some schedule. Kevin Seifert will join as well. Back in a minute from TCO.
Get ready to laugh. Comedy legend Bill Engvall is back at Treasure Island Resort and Casino Friday, September 5th. Blue-collar comedy tour icon may have retired. He just couldn't stay away from the stage. Here's your sign to catch him live for another round of side-splitting humor. Get all the details, ticasino.com.
We're going to have a quick mini segment with Kevin Seifert, and then we'll be able to spread our wings with him in more detail later. We went a little bit long with the head coach because it's frankly, Paul Allen hogs him. So I figured this is you got to get our money's worth today because this is pretty much it for us usually.
It has been.
It has been historically.
Well, maybe one day you could do Vikings Live at Winter Park.
I wouldn't have a problem doing that at all. I'd fill it.
Do the Kevin O'Connell show.
I'd have no problem doing that. Close circuit to PA if he wants to take a week off. Seifert, by the way, he did do KOC did do a deep dive with us on the pick, on the J.J. McCarthy pick. That was pretty good, actually. Was it not, Guardsy?
Told us everything.
He told us the whole play. I can't repeat it because it was very technical. But he basically, it sounds like he was a little bitter at the receiver
for getting rerouted.
Great offensive minds don't they got a plan, and one of the receivers gets quote unquote rerouted. They don't take kindly to that. That's the message I got from the head coach.
But that's playing quarterback in the NFL, right?
That's true.
People get rerouted. It happens. And what do you do in response? And
don't force it.
Don't force it. I think did he say he waited a tick too late?
That's what he said.
Extra tick.
Those ticks will get you.
The best thing about it, though?
What's that?
JJ knew it immediately.
Yeah.
Of course he did. He's got presence.
I shouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
So, to me, that's what all the J.J. McCarthy analysis will be is what does he do when something breaks down or something doesn't happen the way it's drawn up.
And that's the story of the position, too.
Yeah.
Is it not? Whether you're young
not just him. Yeah.
or veteran, that's the story of the position. There were a couple, I thought, very interesting answers from the head coach regarding play calling that I want to get to when we come back. Don't forget also, Ode to a Dead Guy coming up. Hulk Hogan passed away today at the age of 71 years old. And an old rival and a guy that he worked with in friendly ways, too, Kenny Patera, is going to join us, I believe, at 5:30. Hogan is big, man. I'm not a huge wrestling guy, but he's the
cut
old
through.
proverbial. He crossed over
absolutely
in a way that, and he had some problems down the road that were not good. That also took a little bit of the shine off, one could say. But we'll get into all of that with Kenny Patera at 5:30. More Vikings, Seifert reaction to today's practice, and we will get caught up next right here in the Fan.